Should Tua, sweet Tua, my Tua, be the front runner for MVP? Let's listen to Darren Orlovsky and Stephen A. Smith give us their opinions.
The last 3 games, as I mentioned, Tua has shown out. He averaged 323 passing yards per game on top of in each, all while helping the Dolphins score 30-plus points for 3 straight games for the first time since 2009. I know I gave you a lot of numbers.
You know what's interesting about this is that as much as I love Tua, sweet Tua, my Tua, as much as I love him, and I do love him, it's interesting how the MVP has kind of become like a quarterback award. I mean, I don't want to be that guy. Well, why is Tyreek Hill not in this conversation? Tyreek Hill is on pace, I believe. He is still on pace to break the single season receiving record. He's on pace to have over 2,000 yards receiving. Yes, it's in a 17-yard season, or 17-game season, excuse me. But he should still be being talked about for this offensive success. I mean, Tyreek Hill's numbers are insane, especially after what they did last year to Cooper Kupp, who should have been the MVP. So Cooper Kupp last year, him getting screwed, excuse my French, him getting screwed should be enough for people to say, you know what, let's take a look at different positions. Let's take a look at the wide receivers. Let's take a look at the Justin Jeffersons, the Tyreek Hills of the world, the Cooper Kupp last year of the world. Let's not just give it to which quarterback has the best record and the best stats, and let's give it to them. I don't think it should be that. Now, with that being said, I think the MVP right now should go to Patrick Mahomes. What Patrick Mahomes is doing is insane, arguably his best season. He's the best player in the NFL. He's if the best player in the NFL is having his best career season, I think you should give him the award. LeBron James he should have had the MVP in the NBA a lot, but they didn't give it to him because he's so good. I think Patrick Mahomes is suffering that same thing where everyone knows he's good, so it's going to take more for him to get the award. On top of that, the fact that Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill and is still doing this and is continually losing receivers to injury is even more of a reason that I think Patrick Mahomes should be the front runner. But I'm interested to see what what the defense is for Tua here. Now, I would label it, if it was me, I would go Mahomes, Hurts, Tyreek Hill, Tua, Josh Allen would be my 5, if that was 5.
Basically, Tua's playing well, and the team's looking really good. So Miami now undefeated in games this season when Tua starts and finishes the game. So tell me this, Dan. Should he be at the top of the MVP convo at this point?
Absolutely, right with Patrick Mahomes. Those guys are 1-1.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hunt down all the people who told me Tua sucked, like Denzel in Man on Fire. Like, I'm gonna find you guys and make sure that...
The thing with Tua and the thing with that whole, like, Tua sucks or whatever, if Tua would have been drafted by the Texans, he would suck. It takes a perfect fit a lot of the times for players, especially players like Tua, who physically aren't that gifted. You know, like a Josh Allen. Josh Allen probably would be really, really good in a lot of different places because he's so physically dominant. He can throw 70 yards for every team. He can run around as he does for every team. He can bowl over linebackers on every team. Tua can't do what he's doing on every team. He needs this system. He needs Mike McDaniel. You can see the year over year how much better Tua's gotten. And it's because of McDaniel's system. It's because of this offense, on top of having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, there is a reason the Miami Dolphins have exploded offensively this year. Is it solely because of Tua? No. There's a lot of different reasons. You know, Drew Brees needed Sean Payton. He needed that offense. That's very normal.
You realize all you guys were wrong. The way that Tua is playing right now is off the charts. He's neck and neck with Patrick Mahomes as the MVP. He leads the NFL in basically every category. He's got the best QBR in the NFL. He's actually got a passer rating.
QBR, made up stat, made up by ESPN. Is so fake fans or average fans, or however you want to phrase it, so they can see a simple stat and judge how a quarterback is playing. QBR is one of the most worthless stats you could possibly find. For any sports bettor or advanced NFL fan, throw it out. Don't look at it.
Of over 135 for 3 straight games. You know how many people have done that in the history of the NFL? 1, Tua. The only guy to ever do that. Find me a scarier offense right now to play in outside of maybe Kansas City. The ball comes out of his hand so quickly. He's distributing it. The accuracy, the timing, the touch, the placement of the throws is as good as we've seen candidly since Drew Brees, prime Drew Brees. That's what this looks.
They're very similar. They're very similar. You're going to hear this comparison a lot, Breeze and Tua. And I think it's much more about that system match than their physical tools. Yes, I think people are going to show you that they don't throw interceptions. They're very efficient. They're very accurate. Their deep balls kind of whatever. But they're incredible in that arena that they're in. But they won't go deeper and say that they found the perfect system, the perfect coach, the perfect setting. That the way that Tua found this system with McDaniels is very similar to me to how Breeze found the system with Peyton.
Looks like right now. And I'm telling you, everybody, well, ask Ryan when he comes on next hour. There's no defensive coordinator that is not fearing playing against this offense, and it's because of Tua. He's playing as good as you could play.
And Tyreek Hill.
And it's him and Patrick Mahomes right now for MVP.
Well, for me, it's Mahomes. Because Mahomes, number one, let's call it what it is. This brother has been absolutely sensational. We got to give Tua a lot of credit. I'm not taking anything away. 18 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
I love the reasoning. It's like this brother's been sensational. Yes, you can say that about Tua. You can say that about Tyreek Hill. You can say that about Jalen Hurts. Like, it's almost like he said this brother's been sensational, and the conversation should have been just over. It's like, oh shit, well, I didn't realize that, Stephen A. Damn. I guess that is true. He has been sensational. So, yeah, I guess you're right. Well said. Point Stephen A.
Is what it is. Completing over 70% of his passes. It's been impressive, and I get all of that. But I will remind you, you can throw a 5-yard pass to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Don't do that.
Take it to the house.
Don't do that.
I'm just saying, it has happened this year. It's not like it hasn't happened. Yes.
Now, this is when, and I haven't done these numbers, but this is when you start getting into things like air yards. You start getting into like the more advanced metrics, because they're going to tell you, right? They're going to tell you that Tua is a short route passer. So again, I haven't done this, but you can go and look and compare at Patrick Mahomes and Tua and what their air yards are. You can do that and see how similar it is. I did a little bit of digging. This is the first thing that popped up. I don't want to spend all night researching, but this just shows you Tua has twice as many completions to the middle of the field, over 10 air yards, as any other quarterback this season, despite missing 2 games. This was posted on November 2nd. As you can see here, he's number 132. Patrick Mahomes isn't even on the list. So the whole Tua only throws short passes things, this is a good example of how, if you look deeper, that might not be the case.
You're going up against Jacoby Brissett or whatever, congratulations, you beat them. Nice job. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is
40.
Listen, I understand that. They were running the football.
I mean, again, right? These are weird arguments to me, because he says, you just played Jacoby Brissett. You played Cleveland. Congratulations. I'm pretty sure Patty Mahomes' last game, so he beat Malik Willis, and then they beat Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, these weird straw man arguments where it's like, oh, LOL, the Dolphins put up 40 against Jacoby Brissett. Congratulations. Even though Jacoby Brissett doesn't play on defense, but you could easily sit back and say, like, oh wow, you beat in overtime, you beat Malik Willis. Congratulations. Then you beat Trevor Lawrence by 10 points and scored 27. Those things are just very lazy to me when it comes to these kind of discussions.
You were distributing the ball to a lot of different receivers. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, to me, are a dynamic duo that should petrify defenses around the NFL.
They do. They absolutely do.
Catch a 5-yard pass and take it to the house. I'm not saying Tua can't throw the long ball, because we know that he can do that.
Okay.
But when I'm talking about those intermediate passes and what have you, even though I've seen him do it, I've seen him do it effectively. He deserves a lot of credit. But I've also seen him dip and dunk to those brothers, and those guys take it to the house.
I would be interested to see, and I almost want to go ahead and do it right here. But just like if Stephen A. Smith saw stats that said that, let's say it flipped it, right? Let's say he was like, look, Tua actually throws per pass, he throws the ball further than Patrick Mahomes. I wonder if Stephen A. Smith would just be like, oh, well, shit, I was completely wrong. Okay, cool, I'm voting for Tua. Because that's basically his entire argument here, is that Tua doesn't throw the ball very far, thus he shouldn't win it.
These brothers are something special. Tyreek Hill is no longer in KC, and look at what we've seen Patrick Mahomes do. Okay,
that's a good point.
We didn't see Tua do this until Tyreek Hill joined Waddle. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do this without Tyreek Hill, and Kansas City is balling. Right now, if I had to give the edge, it would be to Patrick Mahomes over Tua, but Tua is in the
I do agree that Mahomes should be the MVP, but I agree for like reasons that are actually in the game and what's actually happening, not some straw man arguments. So on one hand, I do agree with Stephen A. Smith. Give it to Mahomes, but I don't think it's only because of Tua's depth of throw. Also, Dan, very nice 5 o'clock shadow.
conversation deserves a lot of credit.
What about Jalen Hurts?
Jalen
Hurts should be in there. Hurts should be in there. I would say Hurts is a step below, but he is in that conversation. If this was like the Heisman, where you got invited to New York and like the finalists sat there, I think he should be invited for sure.
Jalen's in that conversation, but he's not doing what Tua and Patrick are doing. I mean, he's not. He's playing good football.
Yeah.
I think it's the easiest place in the NFL to play as well for Jalen. That's not knocking Jalen. Jalen's playing really good. He's probably in that top 5.
I don't think that's fair. I think what he's saying is like, you know, the system and the people around him. I think it's up to you to be good in the system and with what's around you. You shouldn't be punished for it, right? Like Lamar Jackson shouldn't be punished because the Ravens have created this perfect system for him that allows him to shine. That makes no sense. You know, like Jalen Hurts is in a great system, but Jalen Hurts is operating at an incredibly high level in that system. You should be rewarded for that. Same as Tua. Tua is in the best system for Tua. He is in the best situation to succeed. He shouldn't be knocked for that. He should be rewarded for that. He was given this opportunity in this system with this setting. He was given the keys of the Ferrari, and he drove it really well. He didn't crash it. A lot of people would crash it. You know, Mahomes, same thing. Mahomes is in a very, very good situation with a coach that understands him, and he's dominating. They should be rewarded, not hit for that.
Why?
Their offensive line's the best. It's the most athletic. A.J. Brown's uncoverable. Devontae Smith's your number 2. Their run game is fantastic, and their defense takes the ball away.
Got it. Based on the team.
Yeah.
He's on the best team. You're saying he's on the best team.
Yes, but he's playing top.
But it's such a weird argument, right? Because then it's like, does that mean that all of a sudden, like, if you're on the best team, can you not win it? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, Josh Allen is surrounded with studs. He's surrounded with stars, and up until a week ago, he was the favorite to win the MVP. Just because you're on the like, that's a weird argument too.
Playing top 5 MVP caliber football.
I agree with you on all those points about Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, here's what I would say. Like, Tua's the best deep ball thrower in football this year.
Okay.
So was Tyreek not lying?
Oh, Tyreek killed him.
Wait. Can I remember when he came on the show a couple times?
People thought he was crazy.
Tyreek, and he was saying how good Tua was, and like he's just as good as Patrick Mahomes.
That was the part that we all thought was blasphemous, which we were wrong about.
Yeah,
Tyreek
but is it
was
not?
right about. But let me say this: stop that. We've seen Tua throw the long ball, and Waddle and Tyreek Hill are turning around.
It's again, I don't want to harp on the stats again, but it's funny because I think that like these questions can be solved, right? Like these questions can be answered with what's actually happening. I think perception is that Tua isn't like a gunslinger. Tua isn't someone that can really spread the ball around. He's left-handed. He's smaller in stature. He doesn't have the Justin Herbert, Josh Allen kind of arm. But I think now it's getting to the point to where it's almost taking away from what he is doing. And I think Tua, I don't think anything's wrong with how he throws the ball. I watch a lot of football, and I watch a lot of Miami. And I have not seen a lot from Tua where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if he's got the arm for it. He looks fine to me. And I mean, people watch his videos on Twitter or whatever where they flip his arm, where he's throwing right arm or right-handed, and he looks like a god. He looks like Tom Brady. So it's like, how much of Tua is perception?
Around backpedaling, waiting for the football.
So you're one of the guys I got to chase down. Because you got like undertones of Tua.
Come on, man. Listen. I'm just being straight. Are we being straight up or not? I thought this was
we are.
All right, so let's be real. What I'm saying to you is this. if you can throw the football and it's got so much damn air on the ball, you can order lunch and dinner, wait for room service and everything else before the ball lands, and there's no defender in the vicinity, I mean, you're going to look pretty good statistically, but if you're watching the games, which you have and you've seen on several occasions, it's not like it's tight coverage, and boy, a dime was just dropped in motion.
No, that's not.
It's kind of, I mean, it's interesting because it's just like, I mean, there's nothing that Tua can do in this conversation that would get Stephen A. Smith to put him up there. I mean, now Stephen A. Smith has taken away every single thing that Tua has done successfully and made it either Tyreek Hill did it, Jalen Waddle did it, they were wide open, it was short passes, they were breaking tackles, there were a lot of yak. I mean, every single thing that you could credit Tua with, Stephen A. Smith is attempting to just discard as something else, which you could easily do with everybody. I mean, you could easily be like with Tom Brady with Randy Moss. You could easily be like, yeah, Randy, Tom Brady would just throw a deep ball and Randy Moss would go get it. Randy Moss is a great receiver. Randy Moss didn't win the MVP that year. I mean, it's just a weird thing to be like that Tua. It's almost as if they think Tua is just throwing these like ducks. If Tyreek Hill is doing what Stephen A. Smith is saying he's doing, and if I was Dan, this is probably where you would go with this, is if Tyreek is doing this much to prop up Tua, then why is Tyreek not in the MVP conversation? Because it sounds like, according to Stephen A., Tyreek Hill is doing almost everything. And if that's the case, he should be in the MVP discussion, which I think he should.
I'm telling you. Listen, oh, really? That's what we doing, y'all?
Oh, that's
come on. Really? Come on, y'all. Come on now. See, come on, man. See, now you're being dishonest. I'm just saying to you.
I'm not being dishonest.
We've seen many plays where these brothers they've received passes and nobody was nearby. I'm not saying he hasn't made good throws. I'm not saying every throw has not been contested. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying when you talk about I'm bringing up the issue of the deep ball. When we've seen him throw the ball deep, we have seen these brothers open by just Waddle and Tyreek Hill.
You're a hater.
I mean, come on, man.
You're a hater.
Really? I'm not saying
You're
that.
a hater, dude.
Okay.
Sounds like a hater to me.
You're a hater.
I'm not.
I'm not talking
He sounds
about
like a hater to
50-yard
me.
Balls down the field.
Listen, I'm telling you, Patrick Mahomes, without Tyreek Hill, is still that dude.
No.
It's still that dude.
Oh, he's the man. I mean, again, that was one of my points. One of my points was Mahomes, and let's take a look at some numbers here. So let's look at what Mahomes is doing this year. Let's just take a look. So we have, and let's get to a side by side. Let's get a side by side here, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see. We'll just kind of look at it side by side, just high level. Okay, we're not going deep stats. We're not going next gen analytics or anything. So right now, in 8 games for Tua and 9 for Patty, Patrick has 2,936 yards. Sweet Tua has 2,265 yards. So if he played one more game, let's say he throws for 300 yards, let's say they play the same amount of games, Patrick would still have more. Patrick would still have more yards. Touchdowns wise, 25-7, touchdown to interception. Tua, 18-3. So yeah, I have no problem saying that Patrick Mahomes has had the better year. For sure. I mean, I think statistically, he has. And you took away his best weapon. You took away Tyreek Hill, and he's still doing this. Again, I think he's the best player in the NFL, and he's having on pace-ish to have his best statistical season. I mean, right now, he's on pace to throw for, pretty close to 50 touchdowns. So I think it's totally fine to have Patrick as the number one MVP candidate right now. No doubt, but not for the reasons that Stephen A. is laying out there. Tyreek Hill, I think I said this would be my number 2. I think I said I would have Mahomes 1, Tyreek Hill 2, probably 2 or 3, Hurts 4. You could flip Hurts and Tua, you wouldn't hurt my feelings. But again, with a game, because they had a bye, so they're a game off of people. I mean, this could easily be 1,200 yards in 9 games. Or 1,300 yards in 9 games. I mean, Tyreek Hill should be getting more credit for this, for sure. To wrap this up, I will say that I think Patrick Mahomes right now is your MVP. Tua is getting discredited a lot for kind of the kind of the misguided perceptions here. And I would drag both of these two gentlemen in a lively debate. I think everyone knows that for sure.